Second step is kind of automating, right? How do we automate how we deliver today? But the big prize is really artificial intelligence, and how do we create more bandwidth? It's all about creating more bandwidth to solve more needs for tomorrow than we have today. I don't know if we have really a shrinking workforce, but relatively flat, not enough to meet the challenges of tomorrow. And so how can we leverage AI into everything we do, right? And then have more time available to really plan and optimize projects and optimize design and plan for future conditions like climate change, right? Today, we're head down and elbows up trying to get the plans out the door, right? How can we make things easier for our design teams so we can properly plan and spend more time up front being more thoughtful and making sure we're implementing the best solution for communities, right? Instead of just what's on paper in a scope document. So that's really our aim with that.
And that's probably not different for the fourth companies, Blaine, right? I mean, you said you're just also starting on that journey?
Yeah, very similar journey there. I've spent a lot of my time in the last probably 12 months researching AI solutions and understanding where it's at with its maturity. And that's kind of one of the big things that we look at is the maturity in applications like some of the Microsoft tools, and they say that they can do this and that and this and save you an ungodly amount of ROI. Well, is that true or not? And that's what we've kind of been focusing on this year. But it's all within the same goal in mind, is like let's take away some of the mundane tasks that we're asked to do. And then companies like Bentley is really helping out too with the Site Plus announcement was fantastic. And some of the things like automatic sheet creation and annotation, and taking some of those tasks away to free up our engineers and designers to really do more value-added type tasks, I think is going to be instrumental. So I think at the end of the day, AI is going to be amazing for our industry. It's at its youthful stage right now, and it's kind of like, it's going to grow like exponentially here in the next couple of years. So we're watching it very closely.
So from a research perspective, Sultan, I know that you were also working with machine learning. What is your perspective? Where do you expect, right? If you look into the future, how can cities, where's the biggest opportunity for cities and artificial intelligence?
I think it's interesting. And if we go back, 10 years or so, maybe 15, we'd talk about, we'll need to collect all this data and then something will magically happen, right? And so we went out and we collected all the data. Every city has their sort of open dashboard data, right? And then it sits there and it's like, okay, it's there, so we can look at it. But nobody looks at it because nobody knows it's there, right? And so I think an opportunity, and I don't know how this would happen, but an opportunity is how it was mentioned before, at making sense of the large amounts of data that we have. Maybe not fully autonomously, because that's a bit scary, but guided with some knowledge from city planners, maybe some smart visualizations of what can happen, that people can interact with. I think future cities need to think about people first, right? It's not a technology sort of vomit thing, right? It needs to be, here's a lot of data about your city, here's the questions you may want to have, this is what should happen, right? And then citizens can enter into dialogue with city leaders, which often doesn't happen because of the lack of knowledge. So a support tool like that, when I'm looking at the picture, like so many people live in one spot, right? And they have questions, or they don't have them because they don't know they could ask them. And so that's kind of like what would be very interesting, like a Siri for cities, right? Like that's what you mean.
And I will bring a little bit this question back to you, Jamie, in a second. But I just remember that we had a very interesting discussion over lunch, Jerry, when you said, it's also the connectivity from one phase to the other that is not really yet reflected in organizations on the client side, right? We would like to do this whole life cycle approach. I'm coming back to something more fundamental, right? Really, that we can solve today actually, because we are working hard to bring these phases closer together, that there's no data loss in between. How often do you see this as a showstopper?
Well, I think I mentioned that most of our clients are not directly asking us for anything specific, including a digital twin, right? But they need it. And so how do we bridge that gap? And to support a digital twin, and really the use of AI across all the project phases, every discussion I've been in comes down to one thing: data continuity. Right? We need an integrated, I like to call it from my perspective, integrated engineering database, because we're engineers. But we need a single source of truth that spans across the entire asset lifecycle. And so I think that data continuity is vital for success of that.
Yeah. So Jamie, you had was warming you up here. I would like to know, if we look into the future, we're talking about cities of the future. What do you expect? How will a city of the future look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we probably saw some of it this morning, which was pretty inspiring. I think I've been working in this space for the last 10 years, and it's just really interesting just how the evolution of technology, the cloud, gaming engines, we're seeing that confluence of so many different things come together to this perfect inflection point almost in terms of, how we can make these technologies accessible for cities. I think the big thing is the vision around it. I think city leaders, mayors, you had your point there, they're not really asking for this. Everyone's kind of talking about it, but they don't know quite what it is. Mm-hmm. They know that they kind of should probably have it, but they've probably tried it over the last 10 years, and they realized, if it's on sometimes it had to be on big, massive laptops, and you have to have headsets, and things weren't interoperable. It was hard to get data, loads of legacy data. Now we've got Internet of Things and sensors. We've got too much data almost. Yeah. So I think we've come through like a decade of innovation, and I think now what we're coming out with is open, interoperable platforms that can actually bring citizens on a journey of co-decision making for their cities. And I had this kind of word, democratizing digital twins. Mm-hmm. How can we put it out there more openly? And I do think there's not one mayor in the world that if they see the iLab and the integration with Unreal Engine and the cesium tiles, I think they'll all want it. I think they'll be kind of like, give me that now. It's kind of exciting. Yeah. It's kind of cool.
As soon as they see it.
Yeah. And I think we're at that pivotal point now. And I'm really excited in terms of, your vision from a Bentley perspective, because I think it's a game changer. And I think it will reduce hopefully the time to deliver projects. It might, avert big delays and, not in my backyard. And I think it's exciting stuff. I think the next 10 years, I think is going to be so cool.
So do you say we together have to do a better job?
Yeah, big time.
To explain that to these decision makers, to the owner operators?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call it my, right now we're in the education mode of educating our clients of what the benefits are, what the possibilities are, how can we unlock those together, and what can we do together. So really it's about educating some of these cities. They don't know, like you said, they really don't know what they're missing out on if they could have this. And if they saw the iLab, they certainly would want it. That's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
And you're also working with the city right now, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the successful models lately are where, researchers are like, this is all the cool stuff you can do. Yeah. And the city leaders or sustainability group leaders are like, well, we have these problems. Can you do that? And so you kind of like form a coalition with companies that then can help support that idea. So you bring the questions that they have and you solve them with whatever tools you have, and supporting it that way, everybody wins a little bit, and it's not siloed.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a call to all of us, or let's say to all of us here, to seize the opportunity and connect people and data in cities through urban digital twins. Mm. Right? And with that statement, I want to conclude the panel here. I think we gained a lot of insights in your amazing work from different perspectives in cities, with cities, to advance the world's infrastructure for a better quality of life. Thanks to you all here in the auditorium, to everyone who was watching us online. If you want to have more information about what we are speaking about references, about cases, you can just scan this QR code here. You will be directed to a virtual press kit. And with that, my gratitude to the 4 panelists up here. I think you deserve a big applause. Thank you very much for being here. And thanks to all of you. See you next year.